Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and we are getting into a crazy amount of exciting Bethesda leaks today. Not only are we talking about New Vegas 2 being spotted in a somewhat official capacity, we're also talking about an exciting Starfield leak revolving around some hardware that may be coming to your Xbox soon. Beyond that, in non-leak territory, we're going to talk about the length of the main story for Redfall, which I found to be very encouraging news. So ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to dive into today. I know we're excited, so let's not delay any further. If you're new here, you're into Bethesda news, information, breakdowns, or just a young man screaming into his camera with excitement, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. Let's start off, of course, with New Vegas 2. We don't want to wait on this one. What's going on? First, a little bit of backstory leading up to this, because I do find it to be important context as to what this may be. So first and foremost, it's been no secret that Obsidian has expressed their desire to work on the Fallout franchise. They have not specifically mentioned New Vegas outside of a remaster. Let that be clear, because while I know a lot of us fans have drummed up in our head that the next game they make should be New Vegas 2, it has not been deemed officially that. The only time we have heard New Vegas 2 is through Jeff Grubb, who did report that there are talks between Microsoft, Bethesda, and Obsidian, and the name Fallout New Vegas 2 has been mentioned. But that is in what you would call a more unofficial capacity. It's just context worth keeping in mind. Now, normally when we talk about New Vegas 2, it's us, the fans. We're having a back and forth. What is your ideal New Vegas 2? We never see something connected to the official game mentioning it though. Allow me to introduce to you, or for many of you who've tracked my channel, reintroduce you to Steam Database. SteamDB is a place where you can track the development branches of multiple games. Pretty much anything that's on Steam, you can look it up and see the latest updates coming to the game on the back end. You may remember we recently used this to nail down that Skyrim may be receiving a marketplace. Oftentimes, these development branch names are used to not be so on the nose and allow fans to discern what's going on, but at least indicate what it is in some capacity. So while Skyrim had a marketplace branch, that doesn't tell us what kind of marketplace it's going to be, what the plans are from Bethesda, and we just had to use context clues to inform ourselves and speculate. However, today, things are mighty on the nose, and it's strange where you may find it. If you go over to Fallout 4 on SteamDB, you'll see right now, listed in the history of changes, is Fallout New Vegas 2. This is not made up. You can check for yourself. It's there. Multiple sites have vetted this. I've used this site a ton of times. That is it right there. New Vegas 2. The question coming out of this is, well, Matty, maybe it's like the next gen update or something along those lines. I have a counterpoint to that, although it's not official. If you go a little bit further into the game's history, you will see what's called Beta 2. This was 22 days ago in the middle of March. My assumption is that Beta 2 is that next gen update. But something absolutely weird is happening here with Fallout 4. Let it be known that we have tracked Bethesda Game Studios games in SteamDB for probably since 2015. I have never, ever seen something like this. Is it official? I mean, it's not necessarily an official announcement, but it's about as official of a connection as we have got ever. And that is worth something. I've had a couple of bits of speculation here, and I think number one could be testing the framework for New Vegas 2 off of Fallout 4's engine. That is one possible way you could go about it, given the leaks, the information that's online. That could be something that's happening. The other thing that's interesting is Fallout 4 New Vegas is mighty quiet right now, and some fans are speculating that the modders and Bethesda are teaming up because Todd has gone on record, most recently during the Lex Friedman podcast, to say how they want to continue supporting modders. Now, I thought that would go more in the direction of the Skyrim marketplace, where Skyrim seems to get everything first in the terms of a testing ground because it's a huge user base. But with Fallout 4, it could be something mighty different. Remember, Skyrim's Creation Club shut down around the same time as Fallout 4's, and then they did the anniversary update on Fallout 4. And then they did the anniversary update over on Skyrim, adding in all of the Creation Club content that you could ever dream of for one small price of 20 buckaroos in the upgrade. Whereas Fallout 4, we have yet to see what Bethesda's plans are. We just have this next-gen update announced that we don't know much about. But now all we have here are changes in the SteamDB indicating New Vegas 2 is some type of thing. I've also seen, and this is the last bit of speculation I've spotted online, a late April Fool's joke. Now, I will give you fans of April Fool's Day a little bit of credit. There is the possibility that Bethesda could be pulling our leg a little bit, could be cracking a good joke or two many days later. If you go over to the Skyrim DB, you'll notice that there's actually a branch called Arrow, like arrow to the knee. They have played fun with branch names before. I do think it's a little bit potentially reckless, if you will, and out of pocket to go, well, let's go from arrow to the knee jokes to New Vegas 2 and get the fans riled up. Especially with Beta 2 existing and constantly getting updates, I find it hard to imagine that this is their way of an April Fool's Day. Let's change the branch name of our next-gen update from Beta to New Vegas 2. I just can't wrap my head around that personally. But in fairness, they have joked about this before. Actually, since the recording of this video, Bethesda has now removed or hidden the Fallout New Vegas 2 branch. So it's possible that the story blew up and they went, oh crap, hide it. Or they got their little April Fool's joke out and hid it now because mission accomplished. Either way, little fishy for sure. I will continue to be a smidge of a believer in this because I just think there are way too many things happening at once here in the Fallout IP, between the show, the talk of New Vegas 2, the activity or really lack thereof in the mainline series where, yeah, I don't know if this is really an accidental pull of the trigger, but rather something that maybe we possibly shouldn't have seen too early. But that's me, the optimistic point of view. It's very well possible this ends up being nothing. But again, I'll happily take my L. I just don't think that's the case. We're days after April Fool's. This is a really weird, out of the way path to prank someone. I don't see how it's possible. And especially with all of the change logs noted there, this is something that is being worked on an official development branch, given our current knowledge of Steam DB. So I don't think Bethesda's thinking, well, let's call it New Vegas 2 for a day. Maybe they did. Again, I'll happily take my L on this. But this to me is way too suspect to be something as trivial as that. Doesn't mean it has to be the full official crazy thing. No, but I don't think this is just a, let's prank them. I think they go and do something on Twitter like every other company has. We'll see whatever, but I thought this was really exciting. We now move on to other exciting news. Now, obviously, we know Starfield's getting a developer direct in June, and with that, we're going to see the game once more. And I have this anticipation in my gut that I think Bethesda's going to announce a Starfield-style console. Why is that? The last time we had so much hype drummed up for a Xbox exclusive, in my eyes, was Halo Infinite. And Halo Infinite got its own controller, it got its own Xbox, and granted, that is some of the heritage doing the speaking for you, right? Like, okay, it is Halo after all, which was there now on its 20th anniversary of the Xbox. Okay, this all really synchronizes well where I see why they're doing a special console. This is where my personal bias comes in. I think Starfield is the most important game Xbox will ever release. It is a pivotal moment in not only their acquisition history, but showing to everyone that what they are doing will improve companies who work with them. So Starfield has to be a certified banger. What better way to celebrate that big release than to have a beautiful controller? Now, this does come from the Chinese internet. It's not confirmed as official, but when you take a look at it, it's really hard not to buy in. I mean, between the design around the D-pad, how they lean into the HUD of the game, the controls, and even when you get into the battery pack itself, property of Constellation, and on the inside, you see the Xbox wireless controller stamp, you see for all into the Starfield. I've seen great fan controllers. In fact, I actually own a fan-painted PS4 Fallout controller, and they're fantastic, but there is almost that official paint job on it, and this is what it looks like to me. Just especially the battery pack details. That looks to me like the type of special edition controller that we're going to be paying the big bucks for, or maybe it comes alongside the console. Now, if you head over to Reset Era, we got to take the speculation out of our veins for a moment. Someone over there is claiming that this is being sold on a Chinese website, and the seller says he got it last month, but in his profile, it shows that he is a customization enthusiast, so that this user believes it may just be a custom one. If it is custom, got to be one of the most impressive ones I've seen. When you look at the actual detail on the faceplate of the controller, how they actually match up the UI that you see in the game to the controller itself, with some of the actual things like targeting and shooting, scanning being mentioned there, but not on screen, is why I started to think, oh, this may be legit because it has details we've never seen before. Could just be an assumption on the creator's behalf, but don't go all in thinking this is completely legitimate. It's an interesting one, although I do think there's a chance we know soon. This one, at least, unlike New Vegas 2, we could at least put some type of timetable on and say, we'll probably learn more at the developer direct. Like, hey, you've seen everything, you can pre-order it now. Here's the special edition of the console. Here's the special edition of the controller. Have fun. Now, on a more official capacity, Redfall is coming out very soon. It's a big release for Bethesda and arguably one of the most important as well for Arcane, right? This is a day one Game Pass game, full co-op, and they're looking for a major win here. Of course, they've had major review wins, but in the terms of player count, this is the one they want to be a home run, no doubt about it. And I think right now they're saying all the right things. And I'm very excited to see in a recent interview done with WCCF Tech that Redfall will apparently be about 20 hours long. Let's read. Quote, "You may be able to finish Redfall in 20 hours if you race through. For lots of people, it's going to take more than that, especially if you do safe houses, nests, exploring the whole world. There's also this whole system called Gravelocks that allows you to upgrade some of your powers. I think the completionists will be happy, and then of course, you could want to swap characters. What you saw today was District 1, the Redfall Commons. It's a pretty big space, but there's actually 2 districts in the game. When you finish the first district, you transition to the second, Burial Point, which is another huge space. The first one is more urban with tourists, boats, and the like, while the second is more rural with farms, barns, and things like that," end quote. For me personally, Redfall is slowly winning me over, at least optically speaking. What I played was encouraging, even if it was not the Dishonored playstyle I was looking for in the terms of powers. I'm accepting it for what it is, but definitely hearing 20 hours in that range, 20 to 30, is great. You see, what I'm liking about Redfall is they're making this full co-op game without microtransactions. Think about today's industry, the games that get made, and most importantly, whenever you hear multiplayer of some kind, it usually comes with a form of monetization. Now, in all transparency, there is the Bite Back upgrade, which nets you not only a couple of cosmetic goodies, but you can also get the 2 characters that are coming to the game, which will be paid for DLC anyway. To me, that's fine because they're creating an online co-op experience that doesn't have any loot boxes, microtransactions of any kind, and that's exceedingly rare. That made me instantly want to celebrate Redfall just as a release alone. We'll see if the game itself is great and judge it on those merits, but the fact that Redfall is a co-op game that's also looking like it's not planning to overstay its welcome and soak in tons and tons of hours is great. It's actually something I've celebrated Arcane for in the past. You could do one playthrough of Dishonored and call it a day, but then you have the good karma playthrough, the bad karma playthrough, the different power setups you can use. There's so many ways to approach the game that truly you could turn this 10 to 12 hour game into a 100+ hour game. And that is the magic of Arcane. And I think the same will be here in Redfall. You can play it solo or with other players and different combinations of them and different approaches to how you scale up your character. And it's more appealing when you do that because it's a tighter game that you can replay easier without thinking, oh, it's Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I got to put like 80 hours into this guaranteed. Instead, they break it up into these more, if you will, bite-size pieces where you can just play the game over time, 30 hours, and spend your time a different way. I think the industry is almost going back to those early 2000s days where we're learning that games don't have to be absurdly long, and I'm sure developers are doing that because honestly, it'll cost them a bit less. Of course, this depends on a number of other factors, but point being, if you're not trying to make a big budget, massive AAA game on a huge scale, it will shrink things down at least a little bit. But that's where things stand on Redfall, that's where things stand on New Vegas 2, and that's where things stand on the Starfield controller. So a lot of leaks happening right now. Very exciting times. I am so curious about New Vegas 2. That one's going to keep me up at night. So we'll see what happens with it. Grain of salt for now, for sure. And the Starfield controller, again, I do think we'll see at the developer direct. But I'm curious what you think about everything here, from Redfall to Starfield to New Vegas 2. Please do fire away with your thoughts down below. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the heck out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.